Thousands of years have passed since the dawn of humanity. We're now living in the 21st century, yet criticism, expectations, and the opinions of others still shake us to the core and sometimes make us lose ourselves. Living a peaceful and calm life is a right we all deserve, but too often we tie our happiness to external validation, constantly reshaping ourselves to meet others' standards. In truth, this kills the freedom within us and weakens our spirit. The ancient Stoic philosophers, who lived millennia ago, taught us that the most valuable treasure in life is inner peace, self-confidence, and the ability to live free from the judgments of others. Thanks to their wisdom, we can stand firm in the face of life's trials and walk our own path, without fearing criticism. In this video, I'll share with you 12 powerful Stoic strategies that will help you stay unshakable, develop inner courage, and find true freedom, all without needing approval from anyone. Please subscribe to the channel so we can continue this deep Stoic journey together. One of the most delicate chains that binds the human soul is the anxiety over how others see us. Without even realizing it, we often align our thoughts, behaviors, and even dreams with the approval of others. But this is an invisible cage, one that blocks the path to your spiritual freedom. Changing yourself just to match others' expectations turns your life into a performance. You're no longer the main character of your own story. You become an actor, performing for the applause of an ever-judging audience. But don't forget, this audience will never be fully satisfied. What they praise today, they might criticize tomorrow. And in this constant shift, you'll drift further from your true self. Marcus Aurelius captured this paradox perfectly. We love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinions than our own. That means when you tie your life, your choices, and your desires to someone else's approval, you're not truly living. You're existing like a slave to their judgment. Yet this life was given to you, and it should be defined by your choices, not by the expectations of others. If you constantly need external praise to feel valuable, that's a sign of inner weakness. Real strength lies within you. It arises when you know yourself. Stay loyal to your values and trust your own judgment. Others' approval is temporary, but commitment to your principles will support you for a lifetime. So ask yourself honestly, why am I making this decision? Is it truly what I want, or am I acting out of fear of how others will perceive me? Freedom isn't just physical, it's spiritual. True freedom means living without being dependent on anyone's approval. You are not defined by what others say about you. You are defined by what you say about yourself. We live surrounded by a silent system, a system we call norms. These norms quietly dictate how you should dress, who you should talk to, what you should do at a certain age, and even how you should think. But here's the real question. Who do these rules really serve? You or the people who want to control you? Traditional rules are often based on outdated fears and automatic reactions from society. From the day you're born, you're placed into this invisible framework, and as long as you stay inside it, you're told this is how things should be. Everyone does it this way. But remember, just because everyone does something doesn't mean it's right. In fact, the path followed by the crowd is often the most dangerous one for those who choose to think for themselves. Socrates once said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." This is not just a philosophical idea, it's a way of living for those who seek depth in life. If you don't question the truths handed to you, then you're merely repeating them. It may look like you're living, but in reality you're on autopilot. To question is not rebellion, it is a sign that you've awakened. You're searching for your own path. You are not following the herd, but trying to discover your personal truth. And sometimes that truth is found by breaking the traditional rules. Sometimes true freedom comes from making a decision the world calls madness. But remember, those who changed history were never considered normal. If you truly want to live, to breathe deeply, to find your path, then you must question every so-called truth presented to you. Yes, it's risky, but freedom never comes without risk. A life within the walls of safety is often not a real life. It's merely an existence under the mask of fear. Real freedom is hidden in the questions that don't scare you, but awaken you. Picture this. In the middle of a great city, a philosopher lives in a barrel, walks barefoot, and refuses even the luxury of a royal palace. That man was Diogenes, often seen as mad, yet in reality, a prophet of truth who exposed society's deepest lies. His life screams one message: if you want to be free, you must not crave the approval of others. Because every time you wait for someone to applaud you, you step further from your path. Every time you change your mind based on someone's reaction, you stop owning your thoughts. You become nothing more than an echo of others. One day, as Diogenes wandered with a lantern during daylight, people asked, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for a human." It wasn't just a sarcastic answer. He was searching for someone who truly thinks for themselves, who isn't a slave to others' approval, because very few people live free from that need. Being different is seen as a threat in today's world, but throughout history, it was the different ones who brought change, shook the world and rewrote the rules. So if you think differently, that is not a weakness. It is your originality. It is proof that your inner compass doesn't follow society's map. Don't silence it, dare to follow it. The world around you will want your conformity. It will try to mold you into what others expect. But you can break those molds with your inner strength. Like Diogenes, you too can say, "I don't need your favor, I don't want favors. I want freedom." Because a personality built on others' approval will always remain in their shadow. But if you stay true to your thoughts, you will gain the greatest approval of all, the peace of your conscience and the truth of your path. If one day you can live solely by your own principles, no matter how strange it may seem, that day you will be born free. Freedom may seem like a mountaintop, distant, unreachable, shrouded in fog. You look at it and think, how will I ever get there? I'm still here, caught in these rules, expectations, and fears. But you don't have to reach the summit in a day. In fact, every single step you take brings you closer to freedom. You didn't come into this world as a blank page. From the day you were born, roles were handed to you. The good child, the polite student, the obedient offspring, the fearful worker, and eventually the defeated adult. You drown in these roles, calling it responsibility, but deep inside, a quiet voice says, "This is not me." The human soul has longed for freedom since birth, but fear is the first trap it falls into. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone. These emotions force you to conform. You even end up defending values that aren't yours just because you don't want to be left alone. But remember, true loneliness begins when you silence your inner voice. Something inside is calling you. You may not be able to describe it clearly, but you feel that this way of living isn't yours. This mask, the fake smiles, the silent agreements, the yes when you mean no, all hide your true nature. Take a small step today. Speak instead of staying silent. Question instead of conforming. Acknowledge that you are different instead of blending in. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. Validate your own existence. And on this journey, honesty is key. But not just honesty with others. Above all, honesty with yourself. What do you want? What do you believe in? Life is not a test given to you, not someone else's script. It's the expression of your inner nature, your thoughts and your soul. Expressing yourself isn't just about courage, it's about existence. Sometimes freedom doesn't come from rebellion. Sometimes freedom begins with simply saying, "This is how I think." One small moment of truth can shake off years of lies. One refusal to stay silent, one confession, one simple "enough" can change your entire life. These small steps will teach you to listen to your own voice. That voice will guide you, and you will no longer live according to someone else's script. You will begin to write your own. Remember this: freedom is not a destination. It is a path, an inner state. And you can begin this journey today, right now. right here. Just one step, a step toward being yourself, being sincere and embracing change. Courage is not a privilege that only some are born with. Courage is shaped through constantly facing fears and gaining small victories over them. It is a revolution that begins not in the outside world, but within. Often, people hesitate to be different, because being different means being judged. Why is he so strange? Why does she think that way? Why is he not like the others? There may be no answers to these questions, but sometimes not answering is a strength in itself. Sometimes simply standing your ground in silence, that is true courage. Society offers you a silent agreement. Stay quiet, conform, and you'll be accepted. But this is an agreement made at the price of your soul, because each time you silence your truth, you grow a little weaker. One day you'll realize that the voice inside you no longer says, "This is not who I am," because that voice has long been drowned out. But here's the good news, that voice can be brought back. And it happens through practice. Inner courage requires training. For example, when everyone agrees, speak your own opinion. When everyone laughs, choose silence. When something doesn't feel right, just say no within. Even when your closest ones don't understand you, keep being true to yourself. These small acts, though seemingly insignificant, toughen your spirit. Each time you protect your truth, the voice within grows stronger, your self-confidence deepens, and eventually you no longer fear judgment. You walk your path with quiet conviction. Inner courage is not about shouting outwardly. It's about quietly yet firmly declaring within, "I exist." This isn't a battle, it's resistance. Every time society tries to mold you into its shape, you learn a little more how to remain free on the inside. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's choosing what's right despite fear. And each time you make that choice, you become less dependent on other people's opinions and more attuned to the voice of your conscience. This path is not easy, but it's deeply valuable, because at the end of it stands a person who is loyal to themselves. And the greatest gift to the world is a human being who lives without a mask, without fear, in true freedom. People will watch you. They'll analyze your every move, every word, every choice. If you stay silent, they'll say, "Why is she quiet?" If you speak, they'll ask, "Why did he say that?" They won't judge you because they understand you. They'll judge you because you're different from them. Judgment is like a chain, invisible but incredibly heavy. And if you don't break that chain, it will leave you paralyzed, lifeless, and fearful. The Stoics said, "When the opinions of others begin to govern you, you are no longer free." The greatest form of slavery is the invisible fear you carry within, because when you silence your voice, their voices begin to shape you. You no longer live with your own thoughts, but with others' expectations. That's not living, that's performing. And each day you repeat the same scene only to satisfy the audience watching. Why are we so afraid of judgment? Because deep inside we carry a false belief. If I'm not liked, I'm worthless. If they're not pleased, I must be wrong. But the truth is just the opposite. Your worth is not measured by other people's approval. Worth is born quietly, within, when you stay true to yourself. Think about it. The people who created the greatest changes, Socrates, Diogenes, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, they never sought the approval of the masses. They simply remained loyal to the truth. They were insulted, left alone, sometimes silent, but never afraid. Because their spirit was stronger than fear, you too can develop that strength. To be unshakable is to replace the question, "How do they see me?" with "How should I live?" It is to seek your value not in the reaction of others, but in your own integrity. Apply this in your daily life. When everyone agrees on something, listen to your inner disagreement. When a choice feels right to you, but you hesitate because others might disapprove, do the right thing anyway. Will you be criticized? Yes. Will you be misunderstood? Absolutely. But your value will never be lost because you stayed with your conscience. The pain of judgment is temporary, but the scar of self-betrayal lasts a lifetime. The crowd may criticize you today, But once they see the unwavering spirit in your silence, like a mountain one day, they will quietly accept you. This is not heroism. This is simply being yourself. And in this world, the hardest, yet most beautiful thing is to live not because someone wants you to be something, but because you truly are that something. Marcus Aurelius Cato was one of the most principled, courageous, and uncompromising philosophers in Roman history. He never tried to fit in with the crowd. On the contrary, Cato deliberately dressed simply, avoided luxury, and even when misunderstood by many, always stayed true to the path he believed was right. He demonstrated his uniqueness not just through his ideas, but through the way he lived. And this uniqueness wasn't for comfort, it was a form of training, a preparation. Cato understood that if a person cannot endure small daily discomforts, they will be shaken by great storms. But we do the opposite. We strive to live comfortably. We run away from being different. We hide in the herd to avoid attention. But real strength is not found in hiding, it is born from embracing your uniqueness. You too can train yourself like Cato. How? Sometimes speak your mind openly, even if people find you strange. Step out of your comfort zone, speak up, especially when you're afraid to express yourself. Don't do things just because they're trendy. If something doesn't align with you, resist it. Let people ask you, why did you do that? Because that question already proves you're different. These experiences may seem small, but they are deeply valuable. Each time you resist the pressure to conform, you amplify the voice of your true self. And that voice slowly prepares you for life's bigger tests. Cato was not afraid of judgment because he had built tolerance against it. He had gradually toughened his soul. He knew that if you want to stand firm before an emperor one day, you must first learn to endure criticism from ordinary people. And you too can develop this unshakable strength. It starts with just one decision: to be different on purpose. To dress simply on purpose, to challenge popular ideas on purpose, to speak out during moments you would normally remain silent. Remember, to be different is to shine in the darkness. It will make some people uncomfortable because their eyes have adjusted to the dark. But don't fear this discomfort. The more you shine, the more your true self emerges. Living like Cato means standing calm, composed, and loyal to yourself. And such a stance forges an iron will, one that doesn't bow to criticism or pressure. People often build shields to protect themselves, staying silent, hiding emotions, avoiding conflict. But these shields slowly turn into walls. And the longer you live behind those walls, the more distance grows between you and life. Your feelings freeze, your expression fades, and it's as if you slowly disappear. True resilience doesn't come from building walls, but from staying open. Because only when you remain open can you fully see yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses. Only then does real transformation begin. The Stoics said, don't run, stand still. Stay in the light. Face your own shadow. It's not easy. Staying in the light means letting your inner injustice, fear, helplessness, and jealousy come to the surface. But you must not be ashamed of these feelings. They do not make you weak. On the contrary, recognizing and managing them makes you stronger. You didn't come into this world as a blank slate. From the day you were born, roles were assigned to you. The good child, the polite student, the obedient child, the fearful worker, and eventually the resigned adult. You're suffocating in these roles, but you keep going, calling it responsibility. Yet deep inside, a small voice whispers, "This isn't me." So what should you do? You must develop inner resilience to break free from these roles. And there's only one way to do that: face yourself. Ask yourself, did I make this decision, or did I do what was expected of me? See every fear as a lesson. Why does this bother me? What am I afraid of losing? Don't hide your vulnerability. Write, speak, and accept it. Because when truth is expressed, weakness turns into strength. Every step, every confession, every honesty, every conscious choice makes you a stronger person.
Without building walls, but with a rock-like stability within.
This kind of resilience gives you the strength to stand firm against judgment. chaos and a changing world. Being resilient doesn't mean becoming cold. You can remain emotionally alive and still be unshakable. That's the peak of human potential: strength in gentleness, willpower in calm, firmness in softness. Tear down your walls, but inside build a mountain. Let that mountain be named loyalty to self. Whenever a person begins to express themselves, risk immediately arises. They might laugh at you. They might not understand you. They might misinterpret you. And this fear runs so deep that many of us hide our true thoughts, emotions and desires for years. It's like there's a sensor inside us. What if they laugh? What if I look strange? What if they don't accept me? And so we stay silent. But Carl Jung said, shame is a soul-eating emotion. Because of shame, we don't speak. And when we don't express ourselves, we start lying to ourselves. And piece by piece, our soul begins to fade. In truth, being misunderstood is part of the human condition. Every great idea was first mocked and misunderstood. Socrates was executed for teaching people how to ask questions. Galileo was imprisoned for thinking differently about the world. Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, Jung, these people wrote most of their works, knowing they would not be understood by society. Your path may be different from theirs, but your fears are the same. And the only way to deal with those fears is to embrace them. Accept that people won't understand you and still speak. Be afraid of looking foolish and still take the step. When you feel ashamed, stop and take a breath. This is a moment of true strength. Because if you hide yourself in moments of shame, your decisions will serve others' expectations, not your truth. Expressing yourself means accepting the risk of appearing weak in front of others. Today, but this risk transforms you over time. From a resigned person into a free one, being misunderstood is part of life, but silence is a prison for the soul. If everyone understands you, it means you're not speaking honestly or differently enough. Yes, self-expression comes with risk, but that risk is the price you must pay for your inner truth to be free. Don't silence your voice. Let your voice speak, even if it trembles, even if it's afraid. Let it speak the truth, because truth sets you free. That's why you must begin the journey of honesty and authenticity with small steps. The hardest path is to be yourself, because it is not a quiet walk, but a battle. To be honest and original means stepping outside the normal you were taught. And that begins with accepting the risk of loneliness, misunderstanding, and criticism. As a child, you were honest. You said exactly what you felt. But as you grew up, you were taught silence is better. Truth can be dangerous. You must adapt to protect yourself. So in order to fit in, you started burying your real thoughts. Now it's time to break that silence, step by step. Step 1, stop repeating thoughts that aren't yours. No matter what society says, listen to your inner voice and stay loyal to it. Step 2, ask unpopular questions. It's easy to follow the current, but swimming against it builds character. Step 3, dare to be yourself. Only when you are truly yourself can your soul finally breathe. Authenticity isn't a loud performance. It's made of small but determined steps taken in silence. Start saying the truths you believe in, not the answers people expect. Yes, sometimes they'll think you're strange. Sometimes they'll laugh. But that's the sign. You are starting to separate, to stand out, to come alive. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from inner honesty. The day you stop lying to yourself, no external power can imprison you. You didn't come into this world just to live. You came to be yourself. And every small, honest step brings you closer to your truth. Now, let me tell you something important. Always express yourself freely. Be different in how you dress and behave. Your body language, your clothing, your actions, they are the silent language of your soul. But this language often gets silenced because we fear. What will they think if I wear this? Will I look weird if I say that? As children, we didn't match outfits, we just wore what we loved. Because back then, we had no concept of normal. But as we grew, society's expectations began to suffocate our spirit. Fashion, this collective guidance, left no room for solitude, uniqueness, or personal style. Most of us are now wearing other people's tastes in our own bodies. But you can take the first step to break out of that mold by listening to your feelings, not others' expectations. If you want to wear something different from everyone else, wear it. If you want to sit somewhere and just observe, observe. If a behavior you love makes people label you unusual, keep doing it. Because true comfort means living as your whole self, without trying to resemble anyone else. Cato the Stoic lived by this principle. He wore simple, even worn-out tunics. Not to draw attention, but to stand strong against the gaze of the crowd. He was showing his freedom. Being different is not the same as being strange. Being different means being yourself. Sometimes what society calls a trend is nothing more than fear-driven behavior from the crowd. People start to look and act alike because they're seeking shelter from criticism. But you are no longer hiding, you're on the stage now. You're seeking freedom, and that freedom should be visible in your style, your appearance, and your behavior. Now let me share something very important about Socrates. Always strive to be questioning like Socrates. Never be afraid to ask different, unusual questions. Socrates didn't teach, he asked, because he understood. True freedom lies not in the answers, but in the questions. Answers bring comfort, but questions spark movement. The moment a person starts asking questions, they begin to awaken. For years, you were told, that's how it is, because that's how it's supposed to be. But did you ever ask yourself, why is it supposed to be that way? Why is success always tied only to financial gain? Why are those who follow the crowd called smart, while those who take a different path are labeled fools? Why must happiness fit into templates and formulas? Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And this wasn't just a philosophical phrase. It was a dangerous call for freedom. Because the person who asks questions can no longer be controlled. The one who questions evolves, grows, becomes free. But such questions are dangerous for society, because questions shake the system. So they'll tell you, you don't need to know more, but don't stop. If you've stepped onto this path, then questions are your compass. They will guide you toward your truth. Start small. Why do I believe this idea? Is this behavior truly mine or something I've been taught? Does this rule protect my freedom or is it suffocating me? Socrates once said, I know one thing, that I know nothing. This is a rebellion against arrogance. It's the courage to set your mind free, not to appear knowledgeable, but to be truly open to knowledge. Be like that. Live with sincere questions, not with proud answers. Because each honest question takes you one step higher on the ladder of freedom. Never be afraid to ask, even if those questions make you uncomfortable. Remember, people don't grow in comfort. They grow in discomfort. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Our Stoic journey will continue in the next video. With love from the Stoic Master channel to each one of you.